For exercise 5-3, it is millimeters. So I'm going to click New, go to my metric template. I'm going to go ahead and change this to EX5-3. Go ahead and change my date. And now I can begin drawing. And the thing that I'm going to do this one a little bit differently than I've done the previous ones. I'm going to use the box method for this. And what the box method is it's a really easy method for doing orthographic projection when you first start doing it. To do this, I'm just going to draw a rectangle that represents the overall size of my front view, which is 60 by 40. Then I'm going to draw my 25 by 25 square to set my view spacing. Then I'm going to draw another rectangle to set the overall size of my right side view, which is going to be 30 by 40. And then another rectangle, which is going to be negative 60 by 40, to set up everything else for that particular view. Now, one of the things I'm going to do on this is I am going to begin to use a miter line. And what the miter line is it's a 45-degree line. So I'm going to tab over and type 45 and then tab back to my distance. I'm now locked into a 45-degree line. What this is going to allow me to do is project dimensions over and down from my top view to my right side view. But what I want to do now is I want to begin to work on my front view. And I can see that I've got kind of a Z shape and an L shape. So what I'm going to do is start the line command, and I'm just going to hover over this endpoint and move up, type 15 and hit enter. That's going to start me a line at 15 up. And the book is missing a dimension, but we can assume that it is a 15 millimeter dimension, which is the width of the top part of that L. So I'm only going to go over 45 for this, and then I can go up 15 and then close this piece here off. That gives me my L shape. This right here was that missing dimension of 15. Now I'm going to come in here and go to my line command and hover over this point, track off to the right and just type 40, enter. And then I know that this thing goes down 15 and then closes off right here. I can now trim out this line, and what I'm left with is my front view. Now I can begin to transfer that information over here to this view, or I can work on this view next, which is going to be the easiest thing for me to do. I'm going to start the line command, hover over this point, move down slightly, type 10, enter. I can now take and track that all the way over to the side. I have a line that projects from here that gives me that point, and then I have a line that projects up here to give me that point. So when I look at my top view is now complete, my front view is now complete. Now I can use the information that I have here to generate everything that I need over here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take and project this line. I'm going to draw it right over here to my 45 and then straight down. Now you can see that something's not lining up because I made this 40 instead of 30, so I need to go ahead and correct that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to use the stretch command, which is S, enter, and I'm going to highlight just this portion. And then I'm going to move that down 10. That way everything is coming into alignment with where it should be. Now I can project this over, making sure not to grab the midpoint of the miter line, but the intersection of the miter line. And now I'm just going to draw that straight through my object, and then we'll be able to trim out and erase what we don't need here in a minute. Now the way this is going to work is if I look at my file, I can see that this cut right here is actually in this back piece. So this line right here is going to be projected straight across here. And I can tell that this is a full height segment of my part. This line right here is going to project from here to here. And then this line will project from here to here. So now all I need to do is trim out the stuff that I don't need. I know that this part right here is not in the actual object. I can trim out this line. Well, that line I'll need to erase, but I can trim out the bottom of this, I can trim out the top of this, and now I can just erase this, and what I'm left with is my right side view. One more line to trim out, and there it is. Now you can see by looking at the right side view, you've got a little rectangle here, a little rectangle here, and kind of a backwards L shape right here. Now I can go ahead and draw my diagonal lines so that I can center my view in my border. Go ahead and go to move, grab all of this. I want to move it from the midpoint of the small line to the midpoint of the bigger line. Highlight both of those lines, looks good. Now I'm going to grab my miter line and my rectangle as well and put those all on the check layer. And for the sake of clarity in this particular drawing, I'm going to turn the check layer off. Now I've got all three of my views created. Everything is centered. So now I'm ready to begin my dimensioning. So just going to go ahead and start with my overall dimensions. This is going to be 60 across here. The overall height from here to here is 40. Now I forgot to change it to my dimension layer, so what I want to do is highlight these two dimensions, come up here, change it to dimension right here. Now as soon as I hit escape, it's going to go back to my model layer, but I want to go ahead and click back on dimensions. That way the rest of my dimensions will be on the correct layer. Now I can continue dimensioning. So we'll grab these 2 points. That's going to give me my dimension of 30 right here, and I'm just going to line this up with this one. You don't have to for this week, but I kind of like to do it that way. Now we'll get our next dimension in here. DLI is the key in for linear dimensions. And if you get used to using some of these key-ins, you'll find that your life can be a little bit easier when you're going through and working on different things. So we've got our height of this now at 25, height of the front at 15, dimension on the side is 30. We got our 40 here, our 30 here, and our 60 here. We need a couple of additional dimensions. This is one that was missing from the original assignment, so I want to make sure that I go ahead and put it back in. This right here is going to be 10, and this right here we can put in as 40. So one good thing that you can do is look at the assignment in the book and verify that you have all of the dimensions that the book has. So I've got my 10, I've got my 40, my 15, 25, and 30, my 30, my 40, and my 60, in addition to the one dimension that was missing from the book. If you go through and you take that approach with each exercise, the chances of you missing a dimension are going to be a lot less. This is going to complete exercise 5-3.